Of the League Cup 11, and pursuing the theme of convalescence, Paul Scholes is back on the bench. Villa have played 2-1-2 this week, and further uplifted by Mark Delaney's prompt return to fitness. Otherwise, it's last weekend's side with Lee Hendry back from his midweek rest. Well, let's face it, Manchester United don't often lose 3 games in a row, added to which it is a couple of decades since Villa beat them here. The assumption has to be that this week's form guide is more blip than underlying trend. Having said that, Villa have recently proved very difficult to break down. Manchester United haven't scored a goal in their 2 defeats this week. This is Ronaldo, one of the survivors defeat at the Hawthorns. Doesn't look much wrong with him. 62 on New Year's Eve and ready to be manager of Manchester United approximately until hell freezes over. Ronaldo, Van Nistelrooy, Ronaldo in towards Claverson and behind necessarily by Dion Dublin, making his 299th Premiership appearance today against the club for which he made his first. Ronaldo's corner, through to Keane, bounce back out for Claverson, and bounced off Hendry to temporary safety. Harry Keane still waits for his 50th goal for Manchester United. He was the width of the post away from it. David O'Leary perhaps inspired, although Aston Villa haven't won away from home in the Premiership this year, by the fact that a couple of their better performances have been at Arsenal and at Chelsea. It's perhaps worth giving it a go in the really big games. Claverson, Fortune, Giggs, afforded time to turn. To play it in for Van Nistelrooy, who holds it up for Claverson. It's Claverson, it's Van Nistelrooy. It's another Manchester United goal for the man who just always seems to score them. The finish was simplicity itself. Some of the build-up was absolutely sublime. Delightful touch from Van Nistelrooy. It was sublime in its simplicity. Helped into the Brazilian's path and served up on a plate for a man who gorges himself on opportunities such as those. "13 for the Van Nistelrooy season. He's now 7 shy of his century for Manchester United. Heaved long towards Dublin, and Dion Dublin snapped it goalward and saw it deflected away for a corner. The big fella can use his muscle to good effect in the opposition box too. Tough little run this for David O'Leary and Aston Villa. Wednesday's win against Palace only served to increase the intensity of the run-up to Christmas. Manchester United today, they've got a local derby against Wolves next week. Then the League Cup quarter-final against Chelsea. Awkward for Hendry, who did enough. Really important stretch that from Lee Hendry. Into the last 90 scheduled seconds of the first half. Nudged it away from Ronaldo, and Manchester United with another corner heading into the final minute of the half. Ronaldo with it. Look at all the space here for Giggs. Away from Dublin, hung up by Giggs. Van Nistelrooy too. There's such an ease about it. defence as to quite how Ryan Giggs was left with 10 yards to himself. And Nistelrooy's pivoting turn is utterly familiar, and that he finds the net after it is no surprise at all. And with half-time closing in, Manchester United are easing clear. Given that sort of space, Ryan Giggs can indulge himself. Given that proximity to goal, Ruud van Nistelrooy knows what is required. And he has proved that now 94 times for Manchester United. So Keane hit a post, and then Van Nistelrooy scored, and then Van Nistelrooy scored again, and Manchester United at a gentle telling rhythm eased away from Aston Villa and lead at the break by 2-0. There was a bit of the old strut and stroll about Manchester United in the first half, a flavour of we'll score when we want to. The mood of the second half may depend on whether they want to carry on scoring. Perhaps they'll have an eye on Stuttgart's visit here on Tuesday. Perhaps on the other hand, there'll be a new steel, a new resolve about Aston Villa, who are too close to the bottom three of the Premiership to feel at all comfortable. This is Angel. You can film that. Van Nistelrooy. Giggs, who was an absolute delight before the break. Van Nistelrooy. Elbow came between him and Giggs. Strolls across. Going through wide again for Delaney. For Angel. The tackler back. Still came to Whittingham, and then Barry. Keane protecting the box.
Marcus! Marcus! Marcus!
Barry. Hendry. It's a decent try. Pretty good touch over by the American keeper. Played it inadvertently to Van Nistelrooy. Here's Ronaldo. Has to find a path round Delaney. It's Ronaldo's cross. It's Ruud van Nistelrooy. Hasn't really had a clear-cut second-half chance to complete the hat-trick that waits for him. He got one at Leicester the other week. That was his first shot since half-time. It's one of the colder days of the autumn, and Sir Bobby is well wrapped up against it. Back in by Hendry, and Howard has come and claimed very well, and distributed hurriedly for Cleverson. Fed through for Forlan, who's onside here and has Bellion waiting. It is Diego Forlan for Manchester United. Here's Ronaldo, who lashed it wildly wide. So far, Manchester United and Alex Ferguson, whose watch no doubt tallies, are away from a win after 2 consecutive defeats, ahead of a busy week. Old Trafford will be full again on Tuesday for Stuttgart's visit, and there won't be a spare ticket next Saturday either, when Manchester City, the neighbours, come to call. On ball forward for Forlan, who kept possession well under considerable pressure from Dublin. Diego Forlan, oh, absolute screamer! terrific goal. And Diego Forlan, whose long wait for his first Premiership goal was finally ended in this fixture when Aston Villa visited last autumn, has crowned the largely uneventful second half with an absolute gem. His maintenance of possession in the first instance was splendid, but when he looked up and let go his left boot, that was a little bit special. Scholes. Out by Samuel. Claverson. Hungry for more perhaps. Ronaldo. Claverson. In for Forlan. Flagger stayed down. Diego Forlan again. It is a happy habit he's found. Took weeks and months for him to score his first goal in this league. These days he scores at will. And Manchester United, with a late burst from the Uruguayan, have doubled their lead here to 4-0. Lovely stuff from the Brazilian. And the Uruguayan believes he can score every time he's in possession just now. His smile is one of the broadest and brightest in English football. These days we are seeing plenty of it. Last kick of the match. Well, the job was done by 3:45. It was polished off beautifully by 10:25. Goals for Forlan, goals for Van Nistelrooy, a splendid hour from Giggs, a pre-European run-out for Scholes. Manchester United's ideal afternoon. They're winning again. They have won 4-0.